Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello! Welcome to the Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. It's episode 393, and boy howdy, we're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff as per usual. Going to continue our journey to document some fairly gnarly code, and build up that documentation, but also, as we've discovered the past couple of weeks, build up the capability that we might be able to get some strong typing, thanks to TypeScript and its ability to parse JS.comments. Let's start by sharing my screen. What are we doing today? Yeah, it's February 5th, 2025. Happy February, everybody. We're already 1 month down in 2025. Time is passing so quickly. We're 1 month in. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I think I know what I want to do today. I think I know what's going to go on. I think we're going to keep documenting customizable UI internal. We might even finish it. That's my hope. But it might not go according to plan. We might get stuck on something. We might find ourselves distracted or pulled into something else, or who knows what'll happen. That's okay. This is software development in the raw, as I like to say, and we're just going to do our best and roll with the punches as they come. That's the first thing. The second thing is that this agenda that you're looking at in front of us here, in front of my screen, is something that you have access to, and it'll be in a different place depending on where you're watching the stream. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it'll be over there in the details section. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be down in the video description. If you're watching this on Twitch, it'll be down in the channel details. And so now what I'm going to do is, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing today. The first thing I wanted to mention, this is some fun news, is that Firefox 135 is out the door. Hey, did you know that? Did you know that 135 went out the door yesterday on February 4th? And a bunch of stuff went out. Some interesting things like, hey, Firefox Translations, the client-side translation feature that we ship with Firefox, now supports pages in simplified Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. They can now be translated, and Russian is now available as a target language for translating too, which is interesting. Let's actually see. Let's try and let's find Japanese Wikipedia. Let's go to Japanese Wikipedia. Let's pull up some Wikipedia page. This looks like a beach of some kind. Who knows? Let's see what happens. Now, I don't think I've ever translated Japanese before in my browser, so I was going to have to download the model first, and we'll see how quickly that goes. And then, there it is. In today's main page, we introduce one image a day. Today's photo is published from among the selected excellent images. If you have a great image that you want to post in today's photo, please recommend. This is excellent. Very cool. Suddenly, I can read this Japanese Wikipedia page. And this one is apparently Takeno Beach. Okay, great. And that's what it looks like. Sure looks like a beach to me. Anyway, that's pretty cool. And, it doesn't involve sending a bunch of text off to some cloud somewhere. It's all done on the client side, which is very nice. And remarkably quick, if you ask me. Okay, so that's neat. Credit card autofill is being rolled out to everyone globally, which is nice. That was apparently very difficult because of there's lots of different challenges. You'd think that credit cards would be the same worldwide, and they for the most part are, but it's people's addresses that are associated with, or is it their addresses? There is some complexity related to different regions that has made this a very difficult rollout. But finally, we've reached the point where we can roll out credit card autofill. Let's see. There's if you want to use the one of the multitude of AI chatbot, generative AI things, you can now do that in the sidebar. That's now from, I think you can enable it in labs. That's being rolled out. What else? There's some certificate transparency stuff. The CR Lite certificate revocation mechanism is being rolled out. That's really good because that means that we can do more performant certificate revocation checks. There's some protection here against sites abusing the history API, which is good. And this feature, which I'm gonna hit Command Q. This is a small thing, but I think it's pretty nice if you are you tend to fat finger Command W or Control W, and sometimes hit Command or Control Q instead, because sometimes you want to close a tab and you accidentally hit Command Q or Control Q on Windows, or sorry, Linux or Mac OS, not on Windows, because on I don't think the quit keyboard shortcut is like Alt F4 on Windows, but on Windows, on Linux and Mac OS, you can use Control Q or Command Q, and if you didn't mean to close the browser, that can be a pain. So we now offer the ability, if it's like, hey, did you actually mean to close the current tab? And you can just go ahead and close the current tab, which is nice. That refresh of the new tab page, that like this is the first step in a major refresh of the new tab page, is coming out. That should be rolling out worldwide over the next couple of days. So that's like 4 columns of stories. And as you'll see from my own new tab page, we're really tinkering with this thing. Like, we're trying a bunch of stuff. This is like a little preview of the sorts of layouts and styles that we're looking at introducing. This is all still very experimental. And this is just, I picked this background. There's a bunch of backgrounds you could choose. But I like this one best. But like, there's some other ones. But I like this one right now. What else? What else? So the do not track checkbox was removed. That's because, unfortunately, this is something that we shipped many years ago. But it ended up being that, like, the do not track checkbox would set an HTTP header. It ended up not being enforced in practice. Like, sites would just not abide by it for the most part. Now we use a stronger positioning. So there's the tell websites not to sell or share my data. And that's using a sort of a stronger framework called Global Privacy Control. And you can read out more about that there. We've renamed copy without site tracking to copy clean link to make it clearer for people, because apparently that's a clearer label. We did some testing there. There's a bunch of changes to the web platform. A bunch of volunteer contributors helped out. This is a pretty beefy release. And so good job, everybody. Good job. Okay, so let's keep working on that documentation. And as always, we're going to start by checking out Central, pulling the latest, and then rebasing our documentation branch on top of it. All right, so documentation, that's this one. Git checkout so-and-so. And that should be customizable UI and customized mode. We're going to rebase on top of Bookmarks Central. All right, that rebased cleanly. So now we're based on top of Bookmarks Central. I'll go ahead and do an artifact build. And then, while we're here, let's pull open the file that we've been documenting and find our spot. So where have we been? What have we been doing? Hold on. Okay. So we have gotten to now, unfortunately, like, that's not a very, that is true that we return an object. It would be nice if we could describe that object more, and maybe that's a thing we should do. Saved placements. It's a placements array. So it's like saved placements, entries, widget ID. It's just like, I think it's just an array of widgets, widget IDs. That's all it is. So maybe we should take a closer look at this, because maybe returning object isn't right. I think we got, I'm just noticing that there. That was a little bit further up. We got to about here. Okay. So we're in the same zone. I want to tinker with this. So it's really the parsed value of this pref. So we can compute that ourselves. Oh, sorry. I've got a temporary build time flag I need to get rid of. Schizophrenic web developer writes, sometimes I don't understand why people put everything in one file instead of splitting related stuff in separate small files. I mean, it's a great question. Sometimes there's a real practical reason, because, you know, sometimes files represent modules, and sometimes you want to share things between different components within that module, but keep things scoped to that module instead of exporting them from that module. Now you could, in theory, separate things into different files and then like assemble the module as like a pre-processing task, so it's still sort of like packed up as a module. You could do that, but like there's a balancing act here between separating concerns and seeing the whole picture. You know, it's about finding the right balance. Obviously, you don't want your entire program to be in a whole file. And obviously, you don't want every single function or method to be in a separate file. Those are two extremes. And so what is the balance point? And the balance point, I think, is readability and understandability. If there is a way you can make things more understandable, either by joining files into a single file or splitting a file into separate files, opt for whatever is more readable. So I don't think there's like there should be my opinion anyways, that there's a hard and fast rule over whether or not you should like split things into separate files. It's optimized for readability and understandability. That should be the goal. Having everything split out into separate small files is maybe a thing you could do, but I would be very reluctant to have it be just a generalized blanket rule of thumb. Okay, so let's take a look at this pref and parse its values. The pref is this one, horizontal tab strip. And I think it only gets written to when you turn on the vertical tab strip. There it is. And yeah, it's an array of strings. That's what it is. So like, yeah, if we parse this, we're going to get an array of strings back. Services, prefs, get, char pref, JSON, parse that. Yeah, an array of strings, obviously. So we'll go ahead then down to where we were at. Where were we? It's right around here. Okay. So instead of it being an object, it is an array of strings. The state is an array of widget IDs that had been in the tab strip when switching, prior to switching to vertical tabs. And this will be similar. Returns the vertical state that was saved the last time we switched to horizontal tabs. When the state is an array. This state is an array of widget IDs that have been in the vertical tab strip prior to switching to horizontal tabs. Schizophrenic web developer says using TypeScript means you could get rid of JS docs? No, I don't think so. I don't think that implies that. Loads the saved customization state objects from preferences or sets them to their defaults if no such state can be found. Note that this does not populate GU placements, which is done lazily. Okay, no return value. That's fine. No arguments. Yeah, okay, we'd already done these. Okay, so now we're down to our new one. Restore saved horizontal tab strip state. Now this is, what is this doing? So this will take an array of strings as an argument, and it defaults to that. And that's a Boolean is initializing, which defaults to false. There is TypeDoc. What do you think about this project? Never heard of it. TypeDoc converts comments and TypeScript source code into HTML documentation or a JSON model. Sounds like a good idea. Is there an example? People using it? Example. I'd love to see an example. So from this, you can add explanations and add examples to your documentation site by annotating your code with doc comments. For example, this, and then what's the output? Well, show me what the example output. Click on the exports link in the sidebar, see a complete list. Like, show me what the output of this would be. This is not very helpful. Markdown showcase. Like, was this rendered somewhere? Calculates the square root of a number. Calculates the square. No, it's not. Not on this page. Okay, simple functions. Hey, okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, this is a good idea. It's not too different from what we're doing here, except that the types are being inferred from the fact that you use types in TypeScript, and those are being slurped up into these somewhat JS docky style tags, and then generating documentation. I think that's a great idea. If you're using TypeScript, this seems like a good project. That's my opinion. All right, so restore saved horizontal tab strip state. So what we're gonna do here, what does this do? I mean, I know what it says it does. What does it actually do? So it's actually going to write widgets into the tab strip area. Okay. Restores or adds widgets to the tab strip area. Tab strip area. That were saved when switching away from horizontal tabs. Switching away. This will effectively rebuild area tab strip to match the state in saved placements, and then clear the saved horizontal tab state. Schizophrenic web developer writes, is a programmer spending more time reading code or writing code? Reading code, in my experience. The array of widget IDs to add to the tab strip, to the area in order. If this set of placements doesn't include tab browser tabs, the whole set is ignored and the tab strip is reset to the defaults. For some reason, the whole set of placements is ignored. Is initializing true if we're initializing. True if the horizontal tab strip is being rebuilt during customizable UI initialization, as opposed to during via a pref flip at runtime. Why writing comments if you can get that information from reading the code? To save time. Delete widget in saved horizontal tab strip state. So this is a string. So does this always return an array? Yes, it will always return an array, either empty or with whatever was parsed out of here. Okay. Looks for a widget with a matching ID to a widget ID within the saved horizontal tab strip state, and then deletes it from that state before saving that state to preferences. The ID of the widget to remove from the saved horizontal tab strip state. Delete widget in saved nav bar when vertical tabs. Oh man, that is a mouthful. Position not equals -1. Is this better? Depends. I think it's stricter. Better. What do you mean by better? A widget ID string. So we're going to get the vertical snapshot state. It checks also for the number type. That's right, it is stricter. That's true. But what do you mean by better? You said, is this better? What do you mean by better? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean by better? So what is this doing? We're getting the saved vertical snapshot state. We get the position of the widget. And if the position isn't there, we'll slice it out. Oh, right. The vertical snapshot state to protect from -1 as string. No, I understand. It's doing type checking. I agree. It is stricter. It is stricter. It doesn't, for example, compare against strings or objects. It will just compare number to number. I agree that that's what's happening. You asked, though, is this better? What do you mean by better? I need to understand the conditions of your question before I can attempt to answer it. Prevent bugs. Maybe. It depends. It depends on what you expect. Maybe sometimes there are situations where you do want to have loose typing and a thing can be a number or null. I think it's up to the author. I will say myself that stricter typing does tend to be safer. I don't know, and I guess you could say that that's better. It's hard for me to place a value judgment. I will say being stricter about types is generally safer. It's safer. I wouldn't say better. I'll say safer. So that's as far as I'll go. But I'm not gonna say what people should do. Okay. So horizontal tab strip state. Restore saved horizontal tab strip state. Then the actual saving of the horizontal tab strip state happens here. And then this is saving the navbar when vertical tab state. Right. Looks for a widget with a matching ID to a widget ID within the saved navbar state. Navbar state when in vertical tabs mode within the navbar state that was saved when switching away from vertical tabs mode, and then deletes it from the state before saving that state to preferences. Yeah, that's what's happening there. Save horizontal. I'm also going to say see customizable UI internal save horizontal tab strip state. Oh, not save horizontal. It's this one, save navbar. See this one. I'm also going to do the same thing up here. Save horizontal tab strip state. Now, what's interesting about what you're writing, Schizophrenic web developer, is that like in down the line, maybe you've seen some of the past episodes where we've been working on this. By putting these types in here, we don't have to wholesale change over our code here to use TypeScript. We can still take advantage of the TypeScript compiler to better enforce at compile time or build time, or even when editing, that we are passing the right types around. And so you kind of get the best of both worlds. You end up getting the documentation, which helps prevent people from having to like read the code to understand what it's doing. And you also get some strong typing, which is nice. Does it result in bug-free code? Is it better? I would say it's safer. It's safer. That's where, as far as I'll go. Better is such a... I'm hesitating to place such a value judgment. It depends on who you ask if it's better, but is it safer? I think it's safer. The ID of the widget to remove from the saved navbar state. Okay. This will also be an array, but it can be the empty array. Collects, takes the current set of widgets placed within the horizontal tab strip and saves their IDs to a preference. This can be used to then revive the old state of the horizontal tab strip when this is used when just before switching to vertical tabs mode, and the saved state can be used to restore the horizontal tab mode state of the tab strip. Vertical tabs mode, which moves some widgets around. Yeah, and the save state can be used to restore. Can be, is used. I'll say is used. Placements. The placements within the tab strip, horizontal tab strip, to save to preferences. If this is the empty array, this method will fetch the current placements of the tab strip automatically. Okay. So the placements within the nav bar to save to preferences. If this is the empty area, what if this is the empty array, I should say. This is the empty array. This method will fetch the current placements of the nav bar automatically. Oh, not fetch, use the current placements. Use the current placements. Okay. And then we'll take that and we'll just reword it a little. Takes the current set of widgets placed within the nav bar while in vertical tabs mode and saves their IDs to a preference. This is used just before switching to horizontal tabs mode, which moves some widgets around, and the saved state is used to restore the nav bars place widget placements if the user switches back to vertical tabs. Get area placements for saving. Area. Is area lazy? I think that's got to be area ID, right? Is area default area. Yeah, it's the area ID. So I'm going to change this symbol. Get area placements for saving. An early call save state can occur. So what we do is we figure out whether or not the area is lazy and whether or not there are future placements for that area. And if so, we compute the future placements. Otherwise, we get the placements from the area. Merge in previously saved state. If not present in G placements. This way, state still persisted, temporary disabled add-on. So if there are no placements for some reason, and there's some saved state, and the saved state has the area, then we'll figure out what was persisted. Okay. I think I know what's happening here. Returns the placements of widgets within a particular area without caring, regardless of whether or not the area has not yet been built or is no longer registered. Within a known area. Known area, regardless of whether or not the area has been built yet. Regardless of whether or not the area has been built, has already been built, or is registered, or is still registered. This might mean, for example, returning. This means that we can get the placements for an area that was registered in the past but is no longer registered but still exists within the saved state. Register is no longer but still exists within the saved state. Okay, so string the ID of the area to get the placements for, and it should return an array. Well, it might not. Like, look at this. We initialize it to undefined. We might enter this branch. We might enter this branch. We might enter this branch. So what do callers expect? Save state. Well, I'm not going to change that, so I'm going to say it's either a string, array, or undefined. Because, like, that's possible, right? If the area is lazy and there are future placements for it, we get placements. If the area is not lazy, it's registered, we'll go ahead and get the placements for it. If we don't yet have placements, so the area isn't future, it's not being lazily constructed, and it's not currently registered, then maybe we've seen it in the past. But what if we've never heard of it before? Then we'll return undefined. Returns the placements for the area, or undefined if the area is not recognized. Yeah. Everything prefixed with G, like G save state, is global. Yeah, that's an old convention. That's an old Mozilla convention. It means it's module global. Similarly, members tend to be prefixed with M, and arguments are prefixed with a. Now that's non-uniformly applied throughout the code base. It's kind of like an old habit, and there's not really a stated set of rules on when you should use those prefixes. I think these days, with static analysis and client-side like IDEs being as smart as they are, the utility of having those prefixes is probably less valuable. But back in the day when people were programming with like Notepad++ only, or like Vim without any superpowers, like no IntelliSense or a language server or anything, having those prefixes sometimes helped as shorthand to know, like, oh, okay, I'm dealing with a member variable here, or this is an argument from earlier on in this function or whatnot. But these days, I think it's kind of an anachronism. Save state. Here we go. I don't think this returns anything. Saves the current state of all customizable areas to disk. Current state to the preferences. To preferences. Serializer helper. Key and then value. What's key used for? Key is not used at all. So that is, yeah. Oh, it's the passed to JSON. This helper is passed to JSON stringify when serializing the current customizable areas to preferences in save state. C customizable UI internal save state. I actually don't think we need the braces around these. I think that's not expected. C customizable UI internal save state. There we go. Everyone prefix. They are creative at Mozilla. I mean, we do our best. We're having a good time hacking on stuff, hacking on the code base, various open source code bases. But thank you. I'll pass along your feedback. So JSON stringify takes an it's been a while since I thought about this. JSON stringify. It takes an argument, the second argument, the replacer. A replacer is a function that alters the behavior of the stringification process. Or it's an array of strings and numbers that specifies properties of value to be included in the output. Wow. If replacer is an array, all elements in the array that are not strings or numbers, including symbol values, are completely ignored. If replacer is anything other than a function or an array, all string keyed properties of... Wait, hold on. Function that alters the behavior of the stringification process. Okay, so what kind of function? Replacer. Okay. As a function, it takes two parameters, the key and the value being stringified. The object in which, so a key, let's see what the exact definition of this is. Stringify. Oh. So it's, what is a key? Key and the value. What is the type of the key? Is there like a... JSON stringify placer signature. Presumably it's just a string, right? I say that, except that you can have, I think, object. Can you have an object be the key? X equals so-and-so, let Y equals so-and-so, X dot Y equals test. Yeah, X dot Y. Or wait, no. Hold on. That's not right. Let Z equal X, Y. Does that work? Z. Oh, okay, so it casts the object into a string. Okay. In that case, I'm going to say that key is a string. And the value is literally anything. So object null undefined. It's literally anything. Key can be a number. Can it be a number? Maybe it can be. Let ZA equal 2 test. Whoops, sorry. That's not right. Yes, it can be. It can be a number. That's very interesting. Numeric literal. JavaScript, what a trip. String, number. Like, what are the things, what can, in JavaScript, object key type. Object key types. They're strings or symbols. Numbers can be used too, but they'll still get converted to strings. Is that true? X, let X equals 1, 2, X 1. Okay. For, all right, X dot keys, entries, X for let KV, for let K in X, console log type of K, string. Okay. String symbol. When serializing current custom state, and what it's going to do is if a value is object or it's a map, this converts. This does the work of serializing map and set objects to objects, map and sets to objects and arrays respectively. Okay. Returns some value. Begin batch update. If many changes are occurring to the state of customization, to the customization state, we can begin a batch update which holds off on persisting state to disk until the batch update ends. Calling begin batch update increases the a value, increases the depth of batch updates, and only when the depth, and should be balanced with a call to end batch update. In order to ensure that state gets written out. End batch update signals the end of a batch update, and presuming that there are no other batch updates on the stack, that we have a batch update depth of 0, the current customization state will be persisted to preferences. This should always be called to balance out a call to begin batch update. Force dirty Boolean. True to set to true to force the state saving mechanism to treat the current placement customization state as dirty, as being to treat the current customization set to true to force the state saving mechanism to treat the current customization state as changed and thus in need of persisting to disk. Add listener, G listeners. What does this do? Some weird, like, listener, batch update. Oh. Shoot, I should have just... Instead of writing that, I've been not doing the thing I should have been doing. I should say C customizable UI begin batch update. End batch update. I'm pretty sure save state isn't. Yeah, it's only exposed in one place. Okay, that's good. And get area placements for saving. Not used externally. Okay, save no bar. Not used externally. Save horizontal tab strip state. Not used. Okay. And what I'm looking for is the publicly exposed customizable UI object calling into these methods, because that, if that exists, then I can just forward the documentation rather than rewriting it. Yeah. Okay. Load save state. I think. Yeah. Okay. That's as far as I got. Okay. How far are we? We're at add listener. We've got reset, rebuild, undo reset, some other stuff. quite a few functions left. I'm sorry, gang. We might not get this done today. We're close. We're close, but there's still something like 1,000 lines to go. We'll see what we can do in half an hour. I thought we'd get all these done, but I've been moving more slowly than I thought. Okay, add listener. Well, what are G listeners? It's just a set, and then notify listeners. What? This on widget created, on widget added, on widget after created. On widget drag. Notify listeners on widget. That's weird. Notice here. We're calling them from on widget drag. What? So who calls customizable UI on widget drag? Customize mode. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so this is a way of dispatching special events on widget drag, for example. So these things, customizable UI listeners, that's what it's expecting. Okay, that's helpful. I've got these. Add listener. Oh, good. Oh, good. I can just point to these. Add listener. C. Customizable UI listener. C. Customizable UI. Add listener. And then remove listener. There's no return value. And we see customizable UI and remove listener. Notify listeners. I don't actually believe that is exposed publicly, so we have to write this ourselves. Okay. And for event, I believe it's a string. And then any args. You know what? That's probably what I should have used for serialization. Is any serialization helper. Serialize helper. It should be any. Okay. So for any listeners registered via add listener or remove listener, this calls the appropriate listener function for a particular customizable UI event, passing along the arguments, calls the appropriate listener function for a particular customer if it is defined on the listener, passing along the arguments. String. A event, the name of the event being fired. The event being fired. This is not a DOM event. so much as this is not a DOM event. Just an identifier. This is not a DOM event so much as a string identifier of something that can be listened for via a customizable UI listener, for example, on widget created. The arguments to pass to the customizable UI listener function returns nothing. Dispatch toolbox event to window. All right. I kind of want to change this symbol name. Instead of event, it'd be like a listener name. The name of the listener that should be called. This is a string identifier of something that can be listened for via a customizable UI listener, for example, on widget created. Yeah. For a particular customizable UI event. Yeah. All right. Dispatch toolbox event to window. Constructs a custom event with the a event type that is bubbling, cancelable, bubbling and cancelable, and includes the details passed on a details. This event is then dispatched on the gnav toolbox in a window. That's a string, the type of the custom event. To fire, details, any. The details to assign to the event being fired. A window, it's a DOM window. The browser window containing the gnav toolbox, which will have the event dispatched on it. Dispatch toolbox event. So I'm gonna see customizable UI internal dispatch toolbox event. This is going to be somewhat similar. Constructs a custom event with that is bubbling, includes it details, then dispatched in a window if provided, if one is provided. If no window is provided, this is dispatched on the gnav toolbox for all registered windows. And that details a window null, or null to dispatch to all registered, all gnav toolbox elements in all registered windows. Returns nothing. Docusaurus going strong. Woo! Create widget. Okay, now I'm pretty sure this is This is something that's already been, yeah, okay, so we can just forward this. C customizable UI, create widget. What are the param properties? Is one of these, and it returns these. Very good. That's going to skip a lot of lines. Create built-in widget. Aha. Now this one we have to define. Built-in widget. Creates the widgets that are defined using defined within that are defined statically within the browser in customizable widgets. And what is that? The widget definition. Now, the widget definition will be similar to how we create widgets elsewhere. So I have a feeling that'll be create widget properties. Right? A data conditional destroy promise. Never heard of it. Oh, if one already exists on the data or null, we'll create the conditional destroy promise. Conditional destroy, that is so complicated. What is happening here? Conditional destroy promise. If conditional control. Okay, what are all conditional destroy promise? Okay. If the data includes conditional destroy promise, set it to this and then delete it on the data. So if it had existed, then call it. When was this introduced? Is this no longer needed? Conditional destroy promise. Migrate pocket. Aha. In the pocket button. And then destroy the widget. Reader button data. That's the reader button. Where's the customizable? The built-in widgets. Removed buttons. We removed the pocket button. I mean, we have this one. What is that button? Save to pocket. Yeah, okay. create widget. Got it. Okay, so I'm going to take a note that we don't need conditional destroy promise anymore. Nothing uses it. Active bugs. File a bug to get rid of conditional destroy promise and customizable UI.sys.mjs. The data otherwise is this stuff: on view showing, location specific. That's one of these. Create widget properties. Okay. Doesn't return anything. Returns true. So we've got some pre-existing comment here we can work with. Returns true. Returns true if the area will eventually lazily restore. If the area with the with associated area, but hasn't yet. Param a area. That's a string. A area ID. If the area is lazy, it's true if areas. If the type of the area is the toolbar, then the area is lazy. Otherwise, if the area is in gplacements, or we don't have it in G areas. I don't know if this is true. That's a little flimsy, eh? Is area lazy? Who calls that? This is a lazy area that hasn't been restored yet. We can't yet modify it. Would at least like to add to it so we keep track of it in GFusion placements and use it to add when restoring the area. We throw away a position though, as that can only be bogus if the area hasn't yet been restored. Okay. Normalize widget. Okay. Normalize widget. That's going to return does it return a wrapped widget? Widget event handler. It doesn't actually wrap it. So that's got to be these, and then a source string, source external, one of the, one of the customizable UI source constants. For example, customizable UI.source external returns an object. It looks like it doesn't actually look like it returns a wrapped widget. It just returns an object. Callers to this, like this one, like create widget, then we'll group group wrapper cache. Cache will delete the widget. It's built-in toolbar. Widget might need auto updating. Add widget to area. This returns the widget ID. So this does not, this is wrong. This returns the widget ID. Incorrect. Incorrect, this documentation. Create widget returns string. And that wraps the widget. Okay. This returns string the ID of the created widget. And places them within the palette. And creates the widgets there and customizable widgets. Yeah, well, I don't think there's anything to add there. This widget return object given a set of customizable UI create widget properties, attempts to normalize that object, create a normalized version of that object with default values where a data failed to define values, as well as properly wrapped, wrapped event handlers, properly wrapped event handlers. String returns object the normalized widget representation. Okay. Woo. Okay, wrap widget event handler. So given some widget definition object, widget event name, given some widget definition object forwards calls to functions with the name a event name to the underlying implementation object's copy of that function. Why do we have this indirection? So string, the name of the function to redirect to the underlying implementations version of that same function, same named function, a widget. Now that's going to be something like a customizable UI, create widget properties. Actually, I'm pretty sure this is just called from normalized widget. So this is going to be, I'm going to say a normalized widget as returned by normalized widget as computed by normalized widget definition returns nothing. Now, why do we do this wrapping? The other thing I want to mention is the normalized widget representation. Notably, the implementation property of this widget will point to the original A data structure. Will LLMs replace developers, writes Schizophrenic Web Developer. No, I don't think they will. I could be wrong, but I don't think they will. Destroy widget. They might replace certain classes of software. I can see that happening. I think some people think of it like horses seeing the automobile. And I wouldn't think of it that way. I'd think of, like horses became quaint, I guess, whenever automobiles came around. But we're not horses. We're people who ride horses. And so, yeah, it's possible that LLMs are like the automobile. But in that model, then, the way I think about it is we stop riding horses and we start riding automobiles. We go faster. They become assistive tools. I think that's more likely as opposed to being completely replaced with autonomous automobiles. Like I think the idea that LLMs can produce humongous software systems and maintain them by themselves without human intervention is, I don't think we're even close, personally. How would you even test that if it doesn't burn the earth first? Yeah, great question. They consume a lot of power as well. Although I've heard that there's been work to make them more efficient. You know, you can potentially there's two steps. There's like the energy cost in training, which can be immense. And then there's the actual energy cost in querying, which is also quite a lot. And yeah, that's a lot of energy being used. And the other thing is about like currently at least, they rely on human created content. It has to train on human created content, be it artwork or source code or whatnot. And there's a phenomenon called model collapse. If an LLM is only trained on outputs from other LLMs, it becomes like photocopies of photocopies, and the whole thing kind of becomes really homogeneous and the quality just tanks. This is called model collapse. And so what that tells you is that human creativity actually has a lot. there's a lot of value to human creativity to these things. They need human creativity in order to like improve the models and to evolve the models. They can't, and so like you have this interesting problem right now where there's so much content potentially being created right now on the web that is a mixture of human created and machine created, and you know, there's this, I think, problem that people working in the space are dealing with of like, oh no, how do we filter out all of the LLM stuff to train our next generation LLM so that we don't suffer model collapse? We need to invest more in finding real human creativity. So it's very interesting. It's almost like human creativity is fed into this wood chipper, but it's not just a wood chipper. It fuels the machine. It needs human creativity. If we stop producing new code, then the whole thing stops improving. Now that only changes, like in the event that suddenly the problem of human creativity, or like the feature of human creativity, like if we somehow make it so that these things can like, their outputs don't result in model collapse, which I think is the definition of creativity I'll use, is that the output from a generative model can be fed into a new generative model and train it, and it doesn't suffer model collapse. Then I'll worry. Then I'll be like, oh no, maybe they don't need us anymore. But like, so far I've seen nothing of the sort. And Danny Cullen writes, just feeding them more human-made content doesn't make them exponentially better either. That's true. That's true. But as far as I know, and again, I'm not an expert in this domain. It's just my opinion. Like, have I used one of these things before? Yeah. Like I remember one of my nephews, I wrote him a poem using one of these things just to make him laugh. You know, so I've used these things before, and you know, have I used it for anything super serious? No. But I will, like, what I have read, what I understand is that model collapse occurs when you feed them their own output as training data. And that to me means that there's something that humans provide to the system that is still of value, if you want to measure it that way. Value in at least the training part. And Danny Cullen is right. It doesn't make them better whenever you just feed them human creativity. But certainly if you feed them LLM-generated content for training, it makes them worse. That's true. Currently, anyways. At least that's my understanding. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. Maybe someday we're all going to be just outmoded. That's possible. But why worry? Prepare, I guess. Dig your bunkers now, everybody. Dig your bunkers now. No, don't quote me. I'm just joking. I think we're gonna be like, for LLMs. I'm not worried that they're gonna take my job or your job or you know. I think they're assistive technology. All right. But ask me again in a year. Maybe I'm wrong. Destroy widget. I don't think we need to actually document that because it's already been documented. We can just see the other one. Get customized target for area. Is that? Yeah, we get that one for free too. See, customized WI. Get customized target for area. I always think of them like the computer. When it arrived, it would take everyone's job as well. That's right. I mean, so here's one way I used to think about it. I don't know if this is still true, but this is the way I think about it. When you are programming, you are describing something to a computer. You're describing instructions to solve a set of problems. If you had an LLM that could program, you describe to it the problem you're trying to solve. That's like basically maybe a new form of programming. I don't know if it, so like presumably you know, what would that, maybe that means just more people can be programmers. You still need to describe what you want. That's what programming is basically describing what you want the computer to do. And then when there are problems with it, debugging it, you have to be able to describe the problem and investigate the problem, which maybe an LLM could potentially help with. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, reset. Resets the customization state across all registered windows to the default set of placements. This also puts the browser back into horizontal tabs mode if it was in vertical tabs mode. The yeah, okay, so there's no arguments there. And now actually I think this might actually be one that we can just see as well, actually. See customizable UI reset. Yeah. Reset. Pretty sure that's documented. Yeah. Reset UI state. What does this do? Reset everything is a good idea. Okay. Resets all of the internal state objects of customizable UI internal to their defaults, and also persists, but persists, no, hang on, persists the current state to GUI state before reset, or to allow for undoing resets, or to temporarily allow for undoing resets, customizable UI resets, and then blows away the current customizable UI, customizable UI state, including saved prefs, and sets them to defaults. To their defaults. This also sets them and their placements to, sets them in the associated blows away the current list and sets them to their defaults. This also rebuilds all of the registered areas to reflect the defaults. Rebuild registered areas. Oh, we're over time, gang. It's 2:38. Whoo, how much is left? So 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do some math. 4, 3, 4, 5. That's one number. 4, 3, 4, 5. What's the other number? $5064. Okay, 5064 minus 4345. Only 719 lines to go. So I'm thinking that we have a better shot of having this done next week. Sorry about that. I thought we were there. I thought we were done, but we're not quite. We're almost there. We've made good progress though, and then this will be wrapped up, and then maybe we can document these things. That'll be nice. That'll not take us long, and then we'll have done everything. We'll have documented all of these. Now there's still I think there's some script in here to document. Some of this is already documented. That's nice. We could probably do a bit better. And then all of this is documented, and that'll be good. Put it up for review. And maybe we could invest in some TypeScript checking and see what that's like. All right. Well, I'm going to call it there. Hey, thanks so much again for watching episode... What is this? Episode 393 of The Joy of Coding. Hey, we're closing in on episode 400. Let me know what you'd like to see for episode 400. You can rate this episode. Let me know if you follow this link to rate this episode. Oh, thank you everybody for watching. I'm seeing a bunch of messages in the chat. Thanks for watching, everyone. Here's a link to rate this episode. If you have an idea of something I could do that's interesting for episode 400, let me know by rating this episode, and you can just supply, there'll be text fields in there. You can supply feedback, or you can just drop it in the chat. I read everything that comes in through the feedback form and the chat. And if you've got good ideas, I'll give them a shot. I know that some people were interested in writing a simple add-on to do something, or to try to write something in Rust. So yeah, let me know what you think. And with that, we'll call it there. Thanks again, everybody. Have yourselves a great week. I will see you next week with episode 394. Take care. Bye-bye.